adventure halfway around the world with friends all around me, every boy and every girl. I've worked hard and waited so long, and now I'm in it for the win. When I touch down in London, that's when my journey begins. So here I go, I won't look back. The choice is mine to be the best. The time is now to make all these dreams last forever. So here I go, I won't look back. The choice is mine to be the best. The time is now to make all these dreams last forever. Forever BEO. There's so much to do there. I have nothing left to fear. I can't stop thinking about the future. I see my path is so clear. So here I go, I won't look back. The choice is mine to be the best. The time is now to make all these dreams last forever. So here I go, I won't look back. The choice is mine to be the best. The time is now to make all these dreams last forever. Forever BEO.
Good afternoon, everyone. Please be welcome to this talk. My name is Camila Santos, and I'm sales representative here for BEOnline in Ecuador. Before we start with the introduction, I would kindly ask you to please mute your microphones in order to enjoy this session with the best. And of course, if you have any question or doubt, please write it on the chat. And with not further introduction, I'm going to ask you first. Have you ever wondered what it takes to have engaged students? Well, for this reason, today we have a special guest. Today we have teacher Gustavo Obando. Teacher Gustavo Obando is from Colombia. He holds a certification in TEFL methodology and have trained more than 130 students all over the years. He has been participating in the British English Olympics. So with no more introduction, please help me welcome teacher Obando, and the stage is all yours.
Hello, Cami. Thank you very much. And I want to welcome everybody and thank you for coming to my talk. I believe every time we do this, it's a great opportunity for us teachers to share our experiences and to learn a lot more from colleagues like you. Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me first. I remember the first time that I went to a classroom as a teacher. I was only 14 years old. I remember that I was teaching English in a primary school. third, fourth, and fifth grade. And even before that, I knew that I wanted to be a teacher. For me, this was a calling. After that, many things have happened. I have to tell you something. I actually studied mechanical engineering, and I finished as a mechanical engineer because my mother is a teacher, and amazingly, she didn't want me to be a teacher. So I wanted to be an engineer because my mother said that I was very good at mathematics, physics, and stuff. But I mean, like, before studying engineering, during my career, and after that, I've been a teacher. And this is what I am. This is who I am. So, something about me, I've been teaching in bilingual schools for 17 years already, in three bilingual schools. In my current school, I've been teaching for 13 years. I've been to BEO for 6 times, and this is going to be my seventh time participating. I've also participated in other international events, like the Harvard Model United Nations and other types of United Nations around different cities of the country. And I can tell you that those are really satisfactory events, and they make you grow a lot as a teacher. I want to ask you something. You can write in the chat or tell me. How old were you when you started teaching? How old were you when you knew you wanted to be a teacher? Why did you become a teacher? Just something short. You can write it, you can say, I don't know. Yesterday a teacher was telling me, when I was 16 years old, I knew that I wanted to be a teacher. If somebody is willing to share their experience, it would be great. Anybody? Any brave teachers? Or you can write it in the chat, okay? Okay, I was 14. Very good, somebody. And my mom was also a teacher. That is great, okay? And anybody else? Very good. Okay, I ask you this because I believe, and probably most of you are, or all of you are, when you are a teacher, because you're really passionate about this, it is easier to motivate. Because if you do something with passion, that is a key element. You can transmit and motivate people, right? If you're already motivated, because you're doing something that you really love doing. It's not the same when you do something because you have to, because you need to earn some money for a living, than when you're doing something because you really love doing it. Okay? In fact, or no matter what, when you start doing this, you might start or really fall in love deeply with this beautiful occupation or profession. But I'm going to start showing you my presentation to tell you what I'm going to share with you today. Okay. The first thing is my invitation is to be energetic and motivated. The key for everything, for being a successful teacher and a successful group leader, to properly prepare your students, is to be highly motivated. Because if you are like that, it is going to affect positively on your students. If they see a teacher who is really engaged on this, in this, then they will try to repeat that, to do the same. And this is what my talk is about. Besides, I'm going to share with you some tips and experiences about how to try to motivate students with external factors. Now that is something that we can do. I want you to take a look at this picture. If anybody would like to write what is it that you see when you see this picture in the chat, or tell me, it would be nice. I'm going to give you 10 seconds for that. Write in the chat what you see. Well, as I can see, all right, depending on your answers, it is a reflect of your personality and interest. If you like, for example, animals, you're going to see first, like animals, a panther, birds, etc. But probably you might also see simultaneously a tree. Some people may see even hands in here, or many scary things. So the same happens with our students. They see and they feel based on their interests. and their perception is affected by that. Here goes my second question, and you can write it. Think of two personal qualities or features that help you motivate students. You can write whatever. I'm going to give you 10 seconds, and I'm going to read you. The ones who are willing to write. Think of two things that you think that help you motivate your students. Okay, you're a good listener, you're very passionate, energetic, excellent. All right, what else? Proactive, excellent. Okay. So we have many things that are natural in us that it help us motivate students. But something else, of course. Let's go to the next question. My second question is, sorry, think of two personal qualities or things about you that have ever made your students lose their motivation or feel less motivated. Let's see if you can answer. I'm gonna give you again 10 seconds. But to be honest, this question is usually harder to answer. Okay, I'm still waiting for some answers. Anybody who's brave enough, okay, be too demanding, all right? Be a characteristic, very good. Anybody else too strict about assignments, all right? Like not being so flexible, probably, all right? Sarcastic. I really like also being very sarcastic. And it can be an issue because it's not always funny for our students. Being strict with exams, like whatever minor mistake, immediately we make like a great deal about it. Okay. Well, some teachers wrote about this, but to be honest, normally it's easier to talk about our good things, our good characteristics or qualities. But also we have things that are in our personality where we need to improve. Of course, there are things that are not very easy to change, but you can make them be less noticeable. You have to make a plan for them, a plan, a goal, an objective, and work on that. The center of my presentation is motivation. And what is motivation? Motivation is a process that initiates, guides, maintains goal-oriented behaviors. It is what causes you to go and take a glass of water because you are thirsty, or to read a book because you want to gain knowledge. This process involves biological, emotional, social, and cognitive forces that activate behavior. That word is really important. Motivation triggers or activates behavior. Now, I'm going to talk about two types of motivation that probably you all know. The first one is extrinsic motivation. This motivation is based on external factors, right? It can be about rewards, recognition. Every time we say to the kid, good boy, you're really doing it. That is something that I really invite you a lot to do. Sometimes we see a student based on a general perspective, but when we realize that if the student was here and we took him to this level, or he went to this level, this implies a progress and this implies recognition. Remember, probably as in the words of Skinner, right? Those behaviors that are reinforced tend to be repeated. On the contrary, those behaviors that are punished tend to disappear. Okay? So we would like to reinforce those good things about them. Sometimes a good job says a lot more than anything else. And it releases in your brains the serotonin, the dopamine that produces the sensation of pleasure and happiness. And when the student, we will talk about it later, connects what you are doing with the sensation of happiness and pleasure, it is going to increase his level of motivation, and we're going to take it to the next level where we want to go, which is intrinsic motivation. This comes from within. It's when the student wants to do something for the task itself, because the students wants to improve, to be better, to learn more, right? Not because of the recognition. We say that this is the ideal motivation, but of course, this is also part of a process. When we get the students to want to do the things they have to do, we might say we have achieved a lot. And I believe that the BO process is something that is going to help us a lot for us to be able to get this. We, as group leaders, can turn every moment into a positive experience. The picture here is from the movie Life is Beautiful, where the actor and director Roberto Benigni, with his attitude, could hide a word to his title, right? Of course, I'm not saying that the all is a word, right? But sometimes there are difficult moments, and they are inevitable most of the times. But what we do about it, we can really take initiative or action. There are four things in the world: what you think, what you do, what you feel, and the rest of the world. Normally, we could have or we have something to do about how we feel, about what we do, about what we think, or how we think. But if it is raining, there's nothing we can do about it. But the attitude, our actions, or behaviors toward those situations, we can really do something about it. So no matter what, we can turn everything into a positive moment. BO sometimes can be exhausting. Remember, your students have to come and practice for hours. In my case, they are with me at least every Saturday from 8 to 12. Being with students for 4 hours with one single teacher, in my case, can be something really tough. But later I will show you how I can keep motivation high. Not only that, when the event is closed, I even have lunch with them and continue to practice in the afternoon. How can you get a teenager, 12, 13, 14-year-old boy or kid or girl, to stay with you for so long and to get the best out of him or her? That is something that really demands a conversation. We need to listen to our students and to discover their interests. It is more important to show them how much we care about them than showing them how much we know. Many of you are well experienced. You've been teachers for 15, 20, 30 years, or even probably for less time. It might be your first time at BEO. By the way, those teachers whose first time is this one, I would like for you to raise a hand if there are teachers who are participating on this event for the first time. One teacher, who else? Only one for the first time? Great. But anyway, if this is your first time, I can assure you that this is something that is going to change your life and is going to help you change your students' lives. How can we discover what students' interests are? We need to pay attention, let's be redundant, to the attention focuses, through stories, through a picture. An example, I show my students this picture and I tell them to ask me questions about it. One of them will tell me, when was that? The student is concerned about time. Then the student, another one might say, what are they doing? The student is concerned about the activity. Another one might say, what happened to the man in the wheelchair? The student is concerned about information. So we can create activities. It is very important to learn or to know about their interests, because it is going to let us connect way closer with them. It is very important to keep in mind that our students, as in any class, they have different learning styles. So we have to create and prepare activities for that purpose. I mean, discussions, role plays, PowerPoints, videos, pictures, because depending on the learning styles, we need to get to them. If we only prepare a type of activity, then we're going to lose them in the process. Let's remember something. Every one of us is unique, and we do not all learn the same way. We have a group with, I don't know, from 8 to 20 students. Each of them is different. And we need to try to get to each of them. We need to get to each of them to get the best out of them. So if we understand that this student is more about kinesthetic or auditive or visual, then we're going to be able to get closer to him and to make him get better prepared for this competition, but more importantly, for his or her life. Because remember, constantly they promote BEO as a life-changing experience. And I'm going to be honest with you, after 7 years participating in these competitions, I can tell you, it is a fact. What I have seen my students doing after the preparation and what they have become after the process of preparation, after participating, is amazing. Their lives change so much. They get scholarships in the universities. The ones that I prepare are the ones that later they go to different to different MUMs, or they go to different forums, or to oratory contests, etc. And they change. They become way more confident if you make a proper preparation. It is very important that in the process of preparation, we give information, but we need to connect that information with emotions. Because when we do that, information and emotion, we create a bond that is going to allow them to have long-term memory. I have seen so many times students on a stage, and they have repeated their parts 1,000 times, and when they are over there, they totally go blank, and they forget everything they have to say. Why does it happen? Because they never felt what they were saying. They just repeated like crazy. So they didn't get a connection, an emotional connection with their parts. If we really want to make a change in our students, we need to connect emotions. Even it's very important to create psychological anchors. What is that? Imagine that you had a very pleasant experience. You were at the beach with your family, and that day you were eating fish. But suddenly, somewhere else, you're eating fish. That fact of you eating fish will bring you back to that moment when you were with your family having such a wonderful time. Those anchors can be for positive experience as well as for negative experiences. So if we create anchors with positive experiences, it's going to help us with the motivation. If we create really nice classes, as I will tell you later, and then we say, okay, right, guys, remember that today we are learning a lot. Or we say, today, remember that all of us are open-minded. What are we? Open-minded. And we create this action as an anchor to a really pleasant moment. Whenever they feel depressed or sad, we can bring them back with that moment. Guys, remember that we are, and just by doing like this, that we repeat, we are open-minded. And then it will take them back to that moment, and it's going to help us increase the level of motivation for our students. Nevertheless, it is quite important to develop the skills for these activities. Motivation is crucial, critical, vital. But what about their skills? Different skills. It is important to get them prepared in the necessary skills for them to be able to have a better performance. As a part of another workshop, as a part of another talk or workshop, I don't know why this is not passing.
I can completely help you with that, teacher. Just give me a sec.
I'm trying to go to the next slide. Okay, while this passes, as a part of another workshop, I had a talk about the different skills that we need to develop in students. And I was talking about soft skills and how communication skills are part of Yes, before the one before. You're passing or I'm passing? I'm passing. Very good, thank you. I mean, the first one in the soft skills is motivation. Of course, they will learn problem solving. They will learn how to improve their listening, their speaking skills, etc. through the different practices that they are getting. Every time we prepare something, we need to help them improve that. And how can we do that? How can we motivate our students and at the same time help them develop skills through their BO preparation and to get the best out of them during this competition? I'm going to give you some tips. Let's start with our first one. Tip number one, even if you've never been here or if you've been there for 2 times, 3 times, whatever, it is a great idea to talk about the BO experience, about everything. Everybody loves storytelling. When you do that, or I mean, probably you do it in class a lot, you get students connected. Of course, if you use body language and stuff while you're doing it, you tell to them, I mean, you tell them how it was when you were, or when your students were on a stage and they were clapped and applause and stuff like that, or how nice it was to go to the Buckingham Palace and to be there, and you start telling them the story. I mean, you're going to create a narrative that is going to help you to help them connect with the experience. In my case, I even prepare pictures, I even prepare videos and stuff, and I am constantly telling them every time I come about how great this is, how great my students felt after a certain competition, and I tell them how they felt. I even do something more. I bring students from previous years to tell them or to tell my students how the experience was, to narrate how those moments were. And it really helps them connect with that. Oh, Gustavo, but it's my first time, I can't do that. Get in contact with teachers who've been there before. Talk to the people from BEO. They will show you videos. They will talk to your students. You can get ambassadors to talk to them, whatever. But if you connect them with experience, it's going to increase the motivation, believe me, a lot. My students, when I'm talking about BEO, they are like this. And I even have to stop doing it. Because I mean, sometimes I do it in the middle of a class when I see the motivation is going down. I start talking about it, and I say, okay, now let's talk for a while. Let's look at this picture. What do you think about this? It was really fun. I ate fish and chips. I did this, I did that. So when I do that, I really increase their level of motivation. Another tip is, guys, that it's very important to prepare each of your practices as a lesson plan. This is a class. It's 4 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours. You need to have clear objectives for what you're going to do minute by minute, time by time, to prepare a variety of activities to get them connected. You cannot do the same, right? So if you have different activities, in my case, I have for every single practice, it is on Saturdays, I tell you, I go to bed sometimes really late on Fridays, preparing a PowerPoint presentation where I have what I'm gonna do, where I have the objectives, where I find pictures, etc. I even have an Excel document where I call attendance. If one of my students came late, I do that. I'm late. That is the rigor that we might have in order for them to take this more seriously. Even if they are coming late, I even tell the parents. That's one of the points that I want to talk to you about later. Okay, and you know what? I mean, like, you need to be in contact with the parents. I may inform them even how they are doing the practices. That's one of the key elements. So in here, tip number 2, your classes or your practices must be like a lesson plan, all of the steps, and even to have backup activities. What if something went wrong? What if probably the projector didn't work? What if whatever, if you have backup activities, it's going to help you have more effective practices. No matter what, I have found that it's a mistake that, okay, now is the practice today. Okay, Joseph, come to the front. Please tell me your country's polite part. And Joseph just came. He just came from home. He just woke up like 30, 45 minutes earlier. He's still like, sleeping probably. And so if we do that, it is going to be an impact. But if we do it through an icebreaker or a warm up, it is going to help us with the transition to start with our practices. And even warm ups can help us work the skills or the communication skills that we want to. An example, this is a warm up that I use a lot to improve their grammar skills. I have them say one sentence: I ate pizza. And the rest of the students: when did you eat pizza? How much pizza did you eat? Where did you eat pizza? Why did you eat pizza? So I am working here, simple past tense, the structure with making questions. The student in the front is going to answer those questions. I can have 2, 3, 4 students, not all of them because it's going to take too long. And then the next class, I can pass 2, 3 more with a different structure. I am going to eat pizza. When are you going to eat pizza? What are you going to do? So they are practicing the questions, they are practicing the structure, they are practicing vocabulary probably, or they are practicing fluency. The picture prompt, I really love it. One or two is talking about an object that I give them, whatever format, like storytelling. I mean, you can start by telling a story. The first one starts with something, probably you have done that many times. Then the next one continues and so on. No matter what, you're very creative, I know that. But always my recommendation is to start with a warm-up. The next tip is to always make a closure and assign activities for them to practice at home. It's not like, okay, we finished the practice at 12, okay, go, bye. No. You need to keep in mind, as a lesson plan, that you need to make a closure, to make a feedback of what you did. What did we learn today? What did we do, etc. And you have to give them something for them to do at home during the week until the next practice, to check pending assignments. Because remember, your students will have to make PowerPoint presentations, to make speeches, to make transcripts for what they are going to say during a presentation, whatever. So how are they doing with that? Or just, oh no, I did this, I did that. Okay, remember, next class, you have to, or next practice, you have to do this, and that. And you need to keep in mind where you're leaving them. And the next class, at the very beginning, after the warm-up, you can start with that, okay? Let's check pending assignments. So they know that you're following them, that you have a proper follow-up process. Number five, BEO always gives us material for us to practice, or we can see videos, or also we see the guides, all right, that they have a lot of information about the different events. We need to prepare activities similar to what they are going to face. So when they go over there, they are going to feel way more confident. They are going to feel and they are going to be better prepared for everything, even for the questions. Remember, in the past, questions were not graded or evaluated at all. Right now, there are certain events that questions are evaluated. But even before that, I can tell you that judges do pay attention to questions. You say, oh no, like it's only for them to take notes and to write down. Yes, but remember, they are human beings and they are listening. I remember that in the year 2014 or 15, I was in Intl, I remember, amazing town. One of my students answered a question that was not supposed to be graded. But in the feedback that they give you at the end, you know that they give you feedback for each event, they wrote something positive about the answer that my student gave in that moment. Besides, I mean, there's nothing worse than being very nervous when they are asked questions like, "How was the preparation process? How do you prepare for this? What was the most difficult part?" When the compares are asking those questions, your students should be prepared. And of course, if those are the graded questions, they need to be better prepared. They need active listening, and you need to get them prepared for that. What kind of questions might they get? So if you prepare them with something similar, they are going to be way more prepared and way more confident. Here, for example, I have one mystery presentation challenge. This is an event that is if they go to the semifinals. But to tell you the truth, I feel sometimes so confident that I even prepare them for the semifinals because I say, but if we go over there, I even prepare them for the finals. Have I ever been to the finals? Not yet. But half of the times I've been to the semifinals. I prepare them for that. And no matter what, when you prepare them for a mystery presentation or for an improvisation challenge, mystery challenge, a real one, be creative. Make them build bridges, towers, airplanes, whatever, and then explain to you what they did, why they did it, how they did it, and then when they have their real event, they're going to be able to work as a team and to have their events way faster. My sixth, my sixth tip is share time with them. Believe me, if you don't do this, it's gonna be a nightmare for you for only 15 days in London. And if you have the additional excursion, it's gonna be 6 more days or something like that. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, and you have a concerned parent writing to you very late because it happens, you know that it happens, or if one of the kids doesn't feel well, I mean, you need to be with them. So even if for the practices, you share time with them. I mean, for example, here in this picture, after the morning practice, I had lunch with them in a Mexican restaurant. I mean, of course, the parents know about it, the school knows about it. And I went over there, I talked to them, I get involved with them, all right? And this helps me get better connected with them. Because you really need to get genuinely interested in them. If you don't do that, you won't be able to connect with them, all right? Some of them might be shy. Some of them are going to be more open. But remember, you have to be connected with 100% of your students traveling to your BEO event. And my final tips are, you have to make pleasant rehearsals. If your rehearsals or practices are boring, you will make them lose their motivation. You need to be creative to read their faces. Are they bored? Should they change? And if you make a proper lesson plan, everybody will be busy. An example, you have 10 students. 6 students are working in the Country Spotlight event. What are you going to do with the 14 remaining? Are you going to have them sitting? No, they must be doing something all the time. So you need to think about it. If you do it with time and stuff, everything well prepared, then you will know what you're going to do with the remaining 14. Because remember, sometimes you might say, okay, let's practice the other presentation. But you might have some of them in the first presentation. So what are you going to do with that? Okay? It's very important to have good communication with the parents to let them know what is happening. If it is good or if it is not so good. Because remember, if the parents are relaxed or they trust you a lot, it's going to be easier for you. And even sometimes you might have to tell the parents, hey, you know what? Your kid is great and stuff, but I need you to help me on this. He needs you to finish this. So I believe me, when you say that to the parents and they trust you and they know you, they are going to be telling their kids, you need to do that and stuff. So it's going to help you. Besides, sometimes something might be happening with the kids and you don't know what it is. They are sad. What happened to them? Did they have an argument with their mother or their father? Are their parents in the middle of a situation like a divorce or something? All of that could happen. If you're in contact with the parents, you can deal with those situations more effectively than if you just do or are centered to what you're going to do in a classroom or in any learning environment. Remember, because you can practice outside. Sometimes, for example, for the practice of the song recital where they need to sing and dance, I take them outside. I go here, I go there. For the drama, I go to the yard of the school, to a soccer field, whatever, and they practice over there. The learning environment can be varied. If you have a variety of places, it's going to be more fun for them. And finally, not less important, you need to have a proper academic follow-up. What does this mean? Sometimes, because your students are paying too much attention to the BO practices, they neglect their other subjects or their subjects, all right? So you need to talk to them. You need to talk to the parents and even to your co-workers to see what is happening. Sometimes, I mean, it's not like you're going to help them be irresponsible, but to understand that BO demands a lot. So if the school, the entire school needs to be involved in this, it's very important. Because if the rest of the teachers don't know what you're doing, then they are not going to pay attention to that. But if the rest of the teachers know about this, then they are going to even say, hey, good job. I heard that you're a PO. I heard that you're doing great. And even, for example, if the English teacher, you're not their English teacher, they can even get some feedback or even positive points in the English class or social studies if they are with the country spotlight or whatever. Because that will also help you increase the motivation. And sometimes they neglect BO. Why? Because they are too busy with the other subjects. They are in the middle of the exams. So you need to understand that you need to take it easy in those moments with those students and not to put so much pressure on them because you're going to get them very stressed and then it's going to make the motivation go down. So in general, I'm going to conclude with the following points only. Number one, work on the motivation as a first element. If the motivation is high, you will let them get whatever you want them to do. Number two, learn about their interests. Learn about your students, what they like and what they don't like. It will help you connect much better and get them engaged. Number three, always keep in mind the learning styles. So you have to have a variety of activities for you to be able to connect with each of them and for you to be able to have a more effective practice. Number four, always involve emotions in your process. If you can connect emotions with information, you're going to have a long-term memory and it's going to really affect their lives positively in the future. Number one, two, three, four, five, develop skills. Soft skills, communication skills, teamwork, leadership, problem solving, etc. If you work on that, the task that they're going to do over there is going to be way easier and you're going to have a greater impact in changing their lives for the good. And finally, and not less important, you need to genuinely connect personally with your students. If you connect with them, if you can get close to them, if you get genuinely interested in them, then you're going to achieve the most of them, to get the best out of them. And your participation is going to be great. And you as a teacher, for sure, are going to grow so much that you're going to fall in love with this event as I have. Thank you very much. So now, if there are any questions coming, I'm going to close my presentation now.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah,
So teacher,
when you
we have some
presentation.
presentations.
Can you close it for me, please, Cami?
It's okay. It's already closed.
It's already closed?
Yeah.
I'm the one who's not seeing you. All right, thank you very much. Well, now
Okay.
that I can see some faces, I would like to hear your comments or for you to write them, or you have any questions, any positive feedback or negative feedback. Well, feedback is never negative, I can assure you, at least in my case. So I don't know if you have anything. All right, here we have a question. How many hours a week do I train my students? Well, initially, I prepared practices for 4 hours a week with me, of course. Saturdays from 8 to 12. But when the event is getting close, let's say February, March, I sometimes have to increase the amount of time. For example, sometimes I stay Saturday afternoons. Sometimes, I'm gonna be honest with you, I have practice even on Sundays, even in the afternoons. I mean, I'm very passionate about this. So it depends also on them. I mean, if they tell me, Mister, we really want to practice more with this or that, say, of course, I'm in for it. and I go with them. I go wherever they want to. They gather together in groups depending on the different events, and they go over there and I help them practice. Sometimes individually and stuff, because when they are really into this, my God, they dedicate so much time that that's when they neglect their school.
So we have another comment from Patricia that says, we stay in the afternoon 2 hours and on Saturdays from 9 to 5.
Imagine that. That is really, really good that you can spend that amount of time, 2 hours every afternoon. That would be awesome. All right, because I'm going to be honest, sometimes 4 hours a week, or no, it's never enough. Because 4 hours a week in 5 to 6 months, I'm saying about 4 times 4 is 16 hours a month. In 4 months, it's 64 hours. It's not enough for a BO preparation. You need to prepare 7 events, and each event might demand 20, 30 hours. So how do you do with that? It's never easy. Thank you for that comment. It's good that you could have that amount of time with preparation. Anybody else? Any comments or any questions? Something that you liked about the presentation, something that you don't agree with, whatever, everything you say is going to be awesome for me.
We also received some comments saying that these are very useful tips, amazing for the teachers that they are going to start using with their students. And also we have some presentation from the teachers at the beginning of the event. And of course, there is another comment from teacher Shiani that says, you obviously transmit your passion and enthusiasm to your students. So that's a very nice comment.
Yes, and also as a teacher, if you are enthusiastic and passionate, that's what you're gonna get. And that's why it was my first slide after the presentation slide. A motivated person. If they see that in you, that is in your eyes, in your face, in your smile, in everything you do. If you do that, you're going to easily connect with them. I have an advantage. I have had most of them in class, so they know me as a teacher. And normally in classes, I tend to be like that too. And I think BEO has helped me a lot as a teacher, because many of the things that I do at the BEO practice, I do it in class, and it's awesome for me.
We also have teacher Anna who is raising her hand. Please, teacher Anna.
Hi, I just want to say that I really enjoy your talk. I also want to mention that I definitely agree with you in terms of motivation, in terms of getting involved with the students. You end up, if you're not excited about it, they will never be excited about it. And if you don't let them know or appreciate the importance of what we're doing, then we're basically not doing our job the way that we're supposed to. And so, yes, we are just as involved as the students in all of the process. And it is basically something that we need to commit to just as much as they need to commit to. And yes, it will take, it usually takes our weekends, our after school time. It usually takes even our family time. And it's just the investment that we make for ourselves and for the students and for our school, for doing what we're supposed to do as teachers. So yes, I totally agree with a lot, most of what you have transmitted here. So thank you for that.
No, thank you very much, Anna. It is true. BEO, is a great experience, but it's also very demanding for the teacher as well as for the students. And to be honest, it's harder for the teacher because we have a huge responsibility preparing them, and we're going to be with them, and we're going to take care of a lot of kids. So, most of the weight is put on our backs. So we need to be able to deal with that, always with enthusiasm and with motivation, and we always need to keep that high, because a good group leader is going to make a huge difference. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is a little extra, that is a lot. So if you're always positive, no matter what, you're going to be able to sort out any problems or situations, and your students are going to be happy. And at the end, eventually, I believe that what we want in life is to be happy. And if your students are happy, you're happy, the parents are happy, no matter what the results are, then it's a gain for everybody. That's something that I firmly believe. And BEO is an experience that makes teachers fall in love and grow a lot. You learn a lot because when you're over there, if this is your first time, you see what they do in Mexico, Russia, Italy, Greece, uh, Peru, Venezuela, so many countries, so many teachers, so many cultures. This is very cosmopolitan. When you're over there, you're like, wow. And you don't want to, I mean, you want to be up to the level. I mean, it demands a lot. But of course, if it is your first time or second time, you also need to know that you're learning. It takes time. You have to do your best. And that's what you can do. If you do your best, there's nothing that you can complain about because that's all we can do. But of course, if you didn't do your best, that's where you need to revise yourself.
We also have another question from teacher Eva. It says, what you said about getting close to the students, that is key for success. Knowing their interest is the best tool to make a connection.
Yeah, I mean, getting close to them and connecting with them is the key. As I mean, originally, my talk was called Connecting and Engaging Students, the key to a successful participation. Somehow they changed it, probably the BO people liked more this new title. But yes, the key is to connect and to engage students. You do that, I don't know what the result is going to be, but your participation is going to be awesome. It's not always easy. There are many factors that sometimes you don't control. You go to a group, sometimes the groups are of 8, 9 teams in the first round, sometimes there are 10 or 12, but in your group there are 4, 5, 6 very strong schools that they have even been to the finals, and sometimes it's very close, or something happened to one student. There are so many things that you cannot control. But what you do, what you can really control is your attitude towards those situations. So sometimes you need to deal with failure, with frustration. And that is something very important that you learn in here. Because I mean, our students need to learn about those feelings too. It's not only about being victorious and everything is great, but because sometimes, even if you worked hard, you won't pass to the semifinals or to the next round. Many of them will cry, and you as a teacher are going to be affected too if you worked really hard. But how to deal with that in that moment? That is going to make a difference. I always try to get the best out of them. I make a pizza night. I talk to the people of the BO to get pizza for my students. Ice cream, whatever, and I get them in the next excursion while they are buying in Oxford Street or whatever. Believe me, that moment probably that really bitter moment is going to be behind me.
We also have another nice comment from teacher Lesbian Esther. It says, just like you said, motivation is the key to success. And she is also very thankful for you for sharing your experience.
Yeah, it's nice for me. I mean, like, I'm one of you. I'm a teacher like you are, and I learn a lot from everything you say. For me, I feel honored and I'm privileged to be here. Any of you to be here, and probably you will have way more experience than I do. But I feel great doing this as a teacher, and it's a great recognition that BO does to certain teachers. Um, Many of you in the future are going to be doing this, or maybe probably you're doing a lot of different things right now, and it's great. Sharing your experiences is awesome. You do it, I do it with my students, and yes, I feel really, really great being here with all of you.
We have also teacher John Freddy saying, thanks a lot for this great motivation to improve our jobs. And also I would like to make an invitation for the teacher. Don't be shy, this is not an exam. Ask any question that you want to ask. And well, let's ask teacher Obando who kindly accept this invitation towards this talk.
I mean, for me to ask questions or for them to ask questions?
Well, the way did you like it? If you want to ask them or if they want to ask you.
Yes, guys, we have a few minutes left. It would be great to listen to you, to hear, I mean, or to know your thoughts, hear your comments, listen to your comments. It would be great. because one of the things that I really love the most about these types of activities is how much I learn when I talk to other teachers, when I share my experience with other teachers. You know a lot, I have some experience, and whatever you tell me is going to help me a lot. I mean, it's not always, if you disagree, or if you agree or whatever, as you are saying, is great. I think there are so many things and so many key elements that we can get from here about, for example, how to improve the student skills. That is something very important, and that is quite a different talk that someday we'll have to have with some of you of how to work skills with students. Well, Cami, I don't know. I mean, you will tell me what is next. If anybody else would like to make any comments, to provide some feedback, to ask any questions, to share your experience. Somebody might tell us how their experience at motivating student was, what you have done, when you think that something that you did changed the student's perspective and attitude toward this event.
For sure. If you want to raise your hand, you can do it, of course. This is your space for teachers. And if you have no more further questions, we will kindly ask you to also attend our other talks that we have. And of course, you have to be in our closing ceremony, which will be amazing. We have another comment from teacher Gabriela saying, thank you, it was very enlightening.
Thank you, Gabriela, for your comment. And yes, I mean, like, it's really nice that you liked what I just said. I did it with all my love, as I usually do things, you know. I try to do it that way. And I think that if everything you do it like that, practically success is guaranteed. And even if there is a failure, you will have the satisfaction that you did your best. All right.
We also have another teacher, Wendy, saying, thank you for sharing with all of us this information. It will be very useful to improve our job. Definitely, I think being a teacher is one of the most beautiful jobs anyone can have. And of course, you will always be welcome to all of our international summits and events.
Thank you very much. Well, Cami,